Hi, Eric Gibaud, Gibaud.com, and today I'm going to present you this lens, the 60 to 600mm by Sigma Aperture 4.5 6.3. Thank you so much to Sigma Canarias for lending me the lens so I can show it to you. And this lens is mounted on my Lumix S5 Mark II, but it exists for other mounts also. So let's get into details. Let's start. So I will alternate indoor, outdoor, so because of the wind, all this, more practical indoor to explain the technical side of it. But here I'll show you when it's packed. It comes with a bag, really nice bag with a strap to carry it, okay? And here it's really well protected, as you can see here, get the lens out. In there you have a strap to carry the lens itself, okay? And even the sunshade has its own protection, which is really good because it's easy to scratch, not this one, but any sunshade or break, all this. So it's really good to have a protection for it too, okay? We see we are looking at a premium product. And actually this one is the mirrorless version. This is the L mount for Lumix, Leica SL and Sigma. It also exists for Sony E. And there was a version before that still exists that is for reflex camera. You have it for Nikon and also for Canon EF, okay? So I'm going to tell you some specs, show you how it is, all this. I will show you some pictures, and at the end of the video I will put the picture of all of the picture again in case you wanted to see all of them at the same time, okay? So let's carry on. Yesterday I published a reel on Instagram, and one guy said something. I realized that so many people think this way. He said, oh, 60 to 600mm, the most versatile lens, so with that I can do everything. Well, many people think this way because they just listen to 60 to 600mm, a 10 times zoom, and they feel that, wow, I can do anything with that. Until you use it. This is really heavy, big volume, we'll see that after. This is a specialized tool. This is not a universal lens. It's not the lens you're going to carry everywhere, all the time, all this. Forget about this, okay? That's not the way it works, okay? So it's important you have this in your mind, that this really long range is fantastic for many things, but it's not universal, okay? Second, the name bears sport. If you look at the name of the lens, it has sport. So some people will think that it's just a lens for sport photography, and it is not. I think they use the word sport because, well, the autofocus is really fast, so it is fine for action photography, but obviously it's also thought for wildlife photography, fauna, or yeah, far away landscape or whatever. So it's important that you don't think it's just for sport, it's for more things, okay? But important, this is not a completely versatile lens, okay? This is a specialized tool. For some people it will be their universal tools because they do only wildlife or only sports. For them it will be their permanent tool on the camera body, but for most people it is not. It will be from time to time they need it and they use it, but not all the time, okay? So I'm going outdoors, so I'll show you the lens in details, the way it is, the buttons, all this, the switches, all this. And when we come back, I tell you the exact size, the weight, and I think it's going to be wow. Okay, so let's have a look. It starts on 60mm and goes up to 600. That's not just a bit, that's a lot. This lens has several function buttons. Here you have one button, here you have another one, here you have the lock, I showed before, okay? And here you have the autofocus, if you want autofocus, well, the focusing, autofocus or manual focus, you have a switch here. Here you can decide on the range it's going to focus on, full range from minimum distance to infinity, or from 6 meters to infinity, or up to 6 meters. It depends on what you're doing. It's nonsense to have full if you're going to make a paraglider that is 100 meters away, you don't want the autofocus to be hunting close to you, but to go direct to where the subject is, okay? Here you have the image stabilization, optical stabilization. You have mode 1, it's fully stabilized. Mode 2, it's stabilized, but you can still do some panning this way, okay? Diagonal, horizontal or vertical, it will detect, okay? And then you are off if you don't want any stabilization, okay? And here you have custom buttons, C2, C1 or off, and you can customize, make specific customization to your lens. For that you need the USB-C base they have, and you actually, well, it's USB or USB-C, I don't know, base. So you connect to your lens and you can access an app and configure exactly as you want, set it as you want, okay? Here you have a lock button. You go on 60mm, you just lock it, so this way the lens cannot open by itself, okay? So that's really good. So when you transport it, doesn't open and then it could break or whatever, okay? So really good. It comes with an included sunshade, okay? Which is plastic, but really nice, anti-reflection in there, really nice. And the filter diameter is 105mm. That's not little, eh? I don't know if you can see it, but here you have some pass-through for a strap, okay? When you have this kind of lens on a camera, you should not use the strap of your camera, but the strap that is included that comes to carry your lens, because otherwise you can break the bayonet, okay? So it's really important. Obviously I'm doing a demo, so I took care, I didn't have it hanging with this strap, okay? But if you're going to use that kind of lens, the strap should go here and not on the camera. You can have both if you want, but it just bothers. But it's important that to transport you have the strap here, not anywhere else. Very, very important. When you use a lens that weighs like this, I think it's 2.4 kilos, okay? And you're going to use a tripod, you must always use this small leg, okay? This can use your tripod plate and place it here, or if like me you have this K&F Concept with an RK3 standard plate, then you can put it directly in there without using the small tripod plate, okay? This is really important. Never, ever, ever place a tripod on your camera, because with the weight of this lens you will just break the bayonet of your camera, okay? So it's really important. When you use that kind of lens, not just this one, any big lens like this, always use this, okay? Always. So if you're going to handhold your camera, this leg is going to bother you. Well, just that simple. You just unlock and you turn it this way, and it doesn't bother you, okay, anymore, okay? It's not just specified to this lens. Any lens with a leg like this for tripod mounts, you just turn it and you can use it easily. It's more practical, okay? If you do videos and your idea is to go from 60 to 600mm, well, that's a long throw, okay? You have to train to make sure you don't go stop in midway, okay, halfway. By the way, when you do photography, normally you place it where you need to, okay, but it will be in video. If you want to do some zooming while recording, then yes, but it's really long throw, okay? So I allowed myself to put some joke in there, getting fit to carry this lens, but well, this lens weighs 2.5 kilograms. If you add the camera body, you have more than 3 kilos in your hand. That's really tough. It's really hard to do handheld photography with this. So yeah, a few minutes, or maybe it depends on how you are in shape, okay? But for me, I cannot carry it that long. So most of the time you will need a monopod or a tripod. Get a head that is really moves easily, so you can follow the action if needed, okay? But yes, it's really something that you don't carry that easy, okay? If we look at the size, the diameter of the lens at the maximum diameter is 120mm, and the length without any sun hood, and when it's on 60mm, we speak about 26.8 centimeters, which is not small. I speak on 60mm, not on 600, which is a lot longer, okay? The filter diameter is 105mm, so it means if you need to use some filters, we look at filters that are normally expensive, because this size is not all brand make this size, and when you find it, it's expensive, okay? If you look at the optical block, 25 elements in 19 groups, is it good, is it not good? Got no idea. I'm not an optician, I'm just a photographer, so I give you the details, that's it, okay? If we look at the minimum focusing distance, well, it will depend on where you place your zoom. On 60 millimeter, it's down to 45 centimeter, which is acceptable, okay? And if we look at 600 millimeter, the minimum focusing distance is 2.6 meters, okay? Is it a lot or not? Depends. When you're on 200 millimeters, you could actually do macro proxy, like a 1 to 3, okay? And yeah, it's okay to do some maybe insect in the grass or things like this, okay? That's fine. If we look at the aperture, it goes from 4.5 to 6.3 maximum aperture, depending on the zoom, how you place it. And then how much you can close it also depends on this. It goes up to f22 and f32, okay? If you look at the angle it covers, on 60 millimeters it covers 39.6 degrees, and on 600 millimeter 4.1 degrees, okay? 4.1 degrees is so narrow that makes it really difficult to make picture, but it's not the problem with this lens, it's any lens, okay? But we're going to speak about the difficulty of using this lens. For Japanese product fans that really love to see made in Japan, well, this lens is made in Japan, not in China, not in Laos, not in Vietnam, okay? Many Japanese brands, when they have a premium product, they prefer to make it, to build it in their own country, in Japan, okay? So, if you're a fan of it, yes, it is made in Japan. So, as I was telling, 4.1 degrees is really narrow angle. It means the slightest movement you do and you lose your subject, okay? So obviously a tripod is welcome, or to block your breath and be able to shoot without moving also. But the ideal thing is stabilization, okay? Well, there is a rule of thumb to know how low you can go on your speed without having a shake because of you, okay? Don't speak about the subject, but because of you. Normally it's equal to the focal length. If I am on 600 millimeter, the minimum speed should be 1/600th of a second. If I am on 300 millimeter, 1/300th of a second. So if we look at the stabilization that's in this body, they have two types, the mode 1, mode 2. The normal one is stabilization on everything, and the mode 2 is lets you do some panning, okay? So they announce 6 stops. Well, I think they're really over optimistic. Yeah, I don't doubt that on 200 millimeter, 300 millimeter, yes, you get 6 stops. But when you're on 600 millimeter, no way. I tested, no way, okay? 6 stops, that would be like, well, 4 stops. I think they get to 4 stops more or less. You should be on 1/600th of a second, so 1 stop, you're down to 1/300th, 1/50th, 1/75th, and about 1/40th of a second. Down to this is a bare minimum without any shake, okay? Otherwise you'll get motion blur because of you, okay? So I think they're a bit over optimistic. Also take into account that the stabilization may combine with your body stabilization. On this version that is mirrorless for Sony and for L mount, on the reflex version depends because the Canon and Nikon, they don't have any in-body stabilization on their reflex camera, so yeah, but on this case that's okay. Many people, when they hear 6 stops or 4 stops, doesn't sound much, but we speak about lens stabilization, and many people nowadays, they hear about 6, 7 stops body stabilization, so that's really different. A lens is not the same as a body, okay? But yes, this stabilization will definitely help you having a more steady shot, no doubt. This lens is weather sealed and dust proof, splash proof, so that's important because this is the typical lens you're going to use outdoor with any weather. You're aside of the football field and you're making a picture of your kid under the rain, for example, or wildlife or whatever, so it's important that it is protected, so that's good news. Now, when you make a picture with that kind of lens and you're on 600 millimeter, the angle is so narrow, as I explained before, that you need to focus really fast, because a fraction of a second later your subject is out of frame, or you've moved, or you're tired, or this. You need to have a really fast autofocus to get the subject you shoot that fast, okay? Well, this autofocus is really fast and it is silent. that's good. I mean, if you're on 600 millimeter and the bird is very far away or an elephant is far away, no problem. But if it's close, you're on 200 millimeter, you need a silence autofocus, because animals may listen, may hear the sound and fly away or run away, okay? So for me, the autofocus is really good. Good news. It is also protected against water drop and oil. All this it's really it's coated. It's really well prepared. Okay, really nice. What I'm going to say maybe is going to make you laugh, but some people who do wildlife photography, they will probably agree. 600 millimeter is a bit short. What do you mean, Eric? A bit short? Yes. When you do a small bird, it's far away. It's really hard to have a really portrait, really close up. Okay, you need something a bit longer. When you make a picture of windsurf, maybe you cannot be just on the sea, just at the limit, or the windsurf is really far away, and 600 millimeter may be short. Okay. So there is some option. If you have loads of megapixel in your camera, if you have a Sony 40 million pixel, that's fine. On my Lumix, I don't have that. It's not as many pixels, so I cannot reframe that easy. But you can use the multiply lens like the 1.4x or the 2x. Okay, that will give you like 2x, like the equivalent of 120 to 1200 millimeter, which is massive. Okay, but take into account one thing: 1.4 gets one stop of light less, and two times you get 2 stops of light less. Okay, it means 2 times. If the maximum was 6.3 on 600 millimeter, you will be close to over f11. Okay, so that's not much light. But if you need to get longer, it's possible using that system, no problem. So my conclusion. Well, let's speak about the optics and the image quality. Well, I could have made a picture against a flat wall and see if it was sharp from border to border, but I don't think it was the right thing to do, because that kind of lens, maybe on 60 millimeter, but on 400, 300, 500, 600 millimeter, your subject will be in focus and the rest will be blurred anyway, so it doesn't matter if it's really sharp or not. The important is the center or the thirds around the center. That will be that is the really important part. Okay, and yes, it is sharp. Maybe not the sharpest lens, but still I think it's fine. Okay, it's good. Okay, if we look at chromatic aberration, diffraction, all this, I didn't notice anything that was really more than normal. So yeah, it was okay, it's fine. I think quality is there, no problem. I don't complain about this. Okay, so optical image quality, optical side, fine for me. Okay, that's good. But then we should think about why some people will use this lens on 500, 600 millimeter and think the lens has no good image quality. People must understand how you use a lens like this. Not only you can get really far, but you need to have the air that needs to be really clean. If it's hot, it will be moving, your image will be blurred. It will not have any sharpness. If it's dusty, if it's you have sand in the air, if you have contamination like car smoke, all this, that will be a problem. So many people don't realize this, and they make a picture and they say, oh yeah, it's not sharp. No, yeah, it is sharp. The problem is the air is not clean. Okay, so this is the kind of lens you're going to use early morning or in winter, and when the air is really clean, if you want to use that maximum distance. Otherwise, you will have to be really closer to your subject. So this is really important to understand how to use this lens, when to use this lens, because maybe this lens is for you, maybe it is not. Okay, if you buy a lens that goes up to 600 millimeter, is because very often you will make picture from 300 to 600 millimeter. Okay, if you really seldom, from time to time, make a 500 millimeter, 600 millimeter picture, then maybe there are other options. You don't need to have something that long. Okay, maybe up to 300, 400 millimeter would be fine. Okay, and the other way around, if you're always between 300 and 600 millimeter, maybe there are other options. Sigma has a 150 to 600 millimeter, which is a bit cheaper, and but it's not as luminous, and the image quality maybe is not as good. Okay, so maybe on the lower side, down to 60 millimeter, I'm going to tell you why it's interesting. I know a guy who bought a 400 millimeter f4 2.8, I'm not sure, by Canon, f4 I think. He was on a safari in Botswana, and he saw some elephants, got the camera out with the lens, 400mm, and all he could catch was the eye of the elephant, because they're so used to tourists that they will come really close. So at the end, he was using his 70 to 200mm to make picture of elephant. Okay, so he had to change lenses every time. That was a nightmare. So the fact that if your subject is really far, you have 600mm, that's great. But if it comes too close, you can go down to 60mm. And I think if you're on a safari or sport photography, you're not going to carry two big lenses. With this big one, that will be fine. Okay. Anyway, a lens that is 150 to 600mm is already heavy, or 70 to 200 plus this one you would probably bring anyway, or 150 to 60 together. It's a lot of weight anyway. So in this situation, I think it's fine to go down to 60mm. What alternative do we have? Well, if we look at focal length, well, a bridge camera like a Nikon P1000 or P950, yes, but the image quality is not as good. Okay, so what other option? Well, a 600mm prime lens. If you're going to be using 600 a lot, prime lens, Sigma, yeah, I think it's f4, 8,000 euros, $8,000, something like this, or Nikon, or you have a Canon, 10,000 euros, 12,000 euros. That's massive money. Okay, so how much does this lens cost? About 2,500 euros. So it's a lot less. I don't say it's cheap, it's still money. Okay, but if you have to decide between a bridge camera or a really long prime lens, so you cannot get any subject shorter, okay, closer, okay, the price quality relation is really good. I mean, you get good quality, good image quality, a good lens, fast autofocus for a price that is affordable. I mean, if you want to do a sport photography and you require this kind of focal length or wildlife photography, you must know this is a really expensive sport. Okay, that's expensive. Okay, so I'll probably make a video explaining all what many people don't tell about wildlife photography and sport photography when you need long length. Okay, and the prices. Okay, so I think what it gives you for this price is really good. Is really yeah, it's fine. I think this is probably the only option right now if you don't want to have lower quality or a lot higher price. So honestly, yeah, I think this lens is completely recommendable. But really important, as I said at the beginning, I just said now, you need to analyze what you're going to do with it. This is nonsense to buy a lens like this if you're going to be always on 100 to 300mm. This is nonsense if you buy this thinking you get it out of your car and make pictures like birds like this, really easy, really fast, really easy. No, that doesn't work like this. It's not an easy lens. It's not, because the problem is not this lens. The problem is any lens this size, okay? So make sure you analyze your needs. You analyze if this lens match what you want to do. Because if it does, yes, I recommend it fully. You will be happy with it because price quality is good. And the autofocus is fine, is fast. That's good. So honestly, I can only recommend this lens if you are within this panel of people who would be interested of using this kind of lens. But analyze your need before, okay, before spending money on not this lens, any gear, okay. So thank you so much, Sigma Canarias, for lending me the lens. Thank you so much to you for watching the video. If you feel it may interest other people, please share it on social networks. There's a fly here. If you have not done it yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Small button down here, so small bell. If you click on the bell, get notified when I upload a new video. My website, ericgibaud.com. If you have any question, can leave a comment below. Also leave you links of my gear on Amazon, links of everything I reviewed by K&F Concept, Sandmarc, and Flashes by Westcott. More affiliated links, and also a links to my PayPal account in case you wanted to make a donation. Thank you very much. Please take care of yourself and see you soon. Bye.